Welcome to today's Frontline Recruitment Group Salary Guide webinar. This is our official launch of our 2024 edition of the Frontline Salary Guides. And thank you for joining us today and taking an hour out of your lunch break. As we are hosting this webinar from Sydney today, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal of the Eora Nation and the traditional custodians of this land and pay respects to the elders both past and present. My name is Michelle Gamble and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Frontline Recruitment Group and also our other franchise recruitment brands, Express Employment Professionals and now Express Healthcare Staffing. Today's webinar is supported by really the best people to know what's happening in the job market, our agency owners and managers from our specialist industry verticals, along with myself and our CEO, Arthur McColl. Bringing depth and on-the-ground experience on what's influenced clients and candidates in our specialist sectors are Cassandra King, agency owner of both Frontline Retail Regional Victoria and Tasmania and ACT and Southern New South Wales. Jennifer Stewart, agency owner of Frontline Retail Exec and also Frontline Manufacturing Sydney North. Debbie Glenn, agency owner of Frontline Health Auckland. Jeff Bailey, agency owner of Frontline Construction, Queensland, New South Wales, ACT and Victoria. Julia Long, agency owner, Frontline Hospitality, Northern New South Wales. Monique Poloski, agency manager, Frontline Finance, Sydney North. And Sharon Allison, agency owner of Frontline Education, Sydney. A little bit about today's event. The content of the session will run over a 50-minute period. Leaving 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. At the very bottom of your Zoom screen, you will see a small box that says Q&A. That's where we'd love you to drop your questions if you do have questions along with the session versus putting in the chat. They're a lot easier for us to keep track of if they're in the Q&A box. And look, if we do miss a question, please don't worry. You can also email it to us at marketing@frgteam.com and we'll make sure it gets responded to. After today's session, all attendees will receive exclusive access of the Frontline Salary Guides as well. This year, our salary guide covers more specialist sectors than ever before, with 2 new industry verticals of finance and now manufacturing. The guide, as always, delivers the salary data for specialist roles unique to each industry, sourced from our agencies across our 36 units across Australia and New Zealand. And the data is drilled down to not just specific industries, but also to regions. This is further supported by data from actual placements over the past 12 months, key industry trends and further candidate sentiments as it relates to salaries and career insights. And this comes from our survey of over 5,840 candidates that was conducted in June with our research partner McCrindle, who are the leading social researcher in Australia. The Frontline Salary Guides truly are the best resource for understanding salaries and candidate motivators by specialist sector across Australia and New Zealand. At Frontline Recruitment Group, we're ultimately in the business of people. We're all about human-to-human recruitment, and what we do really does change lives. It's our job to know about your next role before you even do, or the ideal candidate before you do. Each of our agencies is independently owned and operated. So with Frontline, you're not just a number in a big corporate machine, but a highly valued relationship. Our agencies deliver services with the heart and care of a small business owner, but with the professionalism and support of a global staffing leader, Express Employment International, our parent company. Our clients benefit from our database of over 1.4 million candidates being built over a 29-year period, and that represents just under 11% of the entire working population of Australia and New Zealand. We're truly a people-first business, so much so that all of our offices have been certified as a great place to work by the leading global authority on workplace culture 2 years in a row. And in the past 2 years, we were also listed as one of the top 30 best workplaces for women and a top 30 best workplace across Australia overall. We're also recognised as one of the top 10 franchise models in Australia via independent research from Franchise Satisfaction Survey Company, 10,000 feet, and we have a 5-star rating from Fran Data, the leading global authority on franchise models. Today we'll be covering what happens with salaries, what's happening with salaries at a national level across Australia and New Zealand, and then our specialist industry experts will share the key trends driving the job market by industry and what this means for both employers and job seekers in our specialist sectors of retail, hospitality, finance, education, manufacturing, health and construction. We will finish with a bit of time for a Q&A at the end, as I said before, so hang on to those questions and pop them into the chat box. But now I'd like to hand over to our Group CEO, Arthur McColl, to share a really high-level view of what's happening across Australia and New Zealand.
Thanks, Michelle. And now for a change in accent, and hopefully you can tune into my softer Glaswegian accents. But welcome and thank you for attending. And I want to say that why we exist is to place great people into great roles. And hopefully during this webinar we can take you through how we do that, how we can support our clients and our candidates achieve those things. But you're here to really look at the salary guide and understand what's happening in the marketplace. So we'll kick off with the data from SEEK. And the left-hand side is the volume of job ads over the past 10 years. The right-hand side is the application to job ads. So we can see that job ads are down by 13% year on year. But take a moment to think about COVID. We came out of COVID and we've seen a massive job spike. Really what we're seeing is the rebalance of that. Yes, the job ads have dropped off, but they're still dropped off to probably close to 2019 numbers. So it's probably more a stabilisation on the job ads that we're seeing in the current marketplace. But what's interesting on the right-hand side is the applications to those jobs. We've seen a massive spike, and I'm sure I'm too many of you stating the obvious. We've seen the economic situation here, people under pressure. And I think in many, many ways, the quickest way to a pay rise is by changing job. We've also got people who are looking for a second job to help supplement their income. That will be in there. We're seeing a large number of overseas inquiries, which can waste a lot of time for employers. So there's a big surge in applications from overseas coming into that. And obviously we've had the net migration has changed over the past probably 24 months, 36 months. We've seen net migration grow by nearly 550,000 people. The general trend is that will start to reduce. As you remember, during COVID, the government extended many visas, and those are coming to an end. So we'll see people returning back home again, and we'll see the migration starting to drop down and stabilise a little bit more. So that's the trend in Australia. It's similar in New Zealand, but deeper on the job adverts. They're down 30% in New Zealand. And with that, we're seeing that massive spike in applications. We're seeing a number of New Zealand citizens actually migrating and leaving the country, which would be a concern because they will probably, in some cases, not return. And we're seeing many of those come over here over to Australia. So that's the change that we're seeing in New Zealand. This slide here is not the government increase in salaries. This is the advertised salaries on SEEK. So there's a banding put on by employers. So year on year, we probably think about 50% of jobs have a salary advertised. And those tend to be companies that feel they're on market or above. So this increase is slightly higher than what we're seeing at government level. So at 4.2%, certainly the last quarter, the Australian salaries increased by 4.1%, and it was 3.9% in New Zealand. So it's tracking there or thereabouts, but a little bit higher given the comments I've made earlier. So this is a bit more detail on that particular slide. Now, we don't have real data on New Zealand. I apologise, and we'll work to get data for you. But you can see the state-by-state spread. We've seen the advertised salaries grow in NT by 3.6%, up towards 5% in Tasmania. So that's the spread that we're seeing. Now, this is the change in salaries by industry, and I don't intend going through this in detail. I'm sure you can select your own sector, and we'd love you to make contact with your frontline office for more information on your particular sector. They can give a lot more detail on this slide, but it just serves to show where the increase has been highest in education and training at 7.2%, and we can see where it drops below the sort of 2% insurance and superannuation on that slide. So that's by sector. This next slide just serves the purpose of showing you where we're seeing the increases by particular roles. And again, you can see there's quite a spread. I mean, it's up in the 20% in many cases. Lots of healthcare in there. But I'd say to you, contact your frontline office and they'll give you a lot more information and they'll get a lot more detail on where these salaries are going. So our survey, we surveyed our candidates, and certainly we're seeing a more positive tone towards existing salaries. And you can see here that 47% feel more positive about their salaries are moving forward. So hopefully that's going to continue, but that gives you an insight to where that sits today. But what's key is negotiation. And I can take these four groups and I'll probably put them into four buckets. The Gen Zs is probably 18% of the population. Gen Y is about 21%, Gen X about 20%, baby boomers about 20%, and then we've got the youngsters and the over 75s. So that's the 80%, but you can see a high proportion want to negotiate on salary. That's the driver. Of course, they want work-life balance, they want the right culture, but money speaks volumes, and you'll get more tips from the franchisees or the agency owners later in the call. So the question may well be, looking at that data of job adverts are down, applications are up, why would you use a recruiter? And I just thought, this is the elephant in the room, and I want to share with you why you would. So don't think that huge applications makes life a lot easier. In fact, it makes life a lot more complicated for you. You've got to sift through a lot of those CVs. And one thing you would find with a recruiter, recruiters will get access to a lot more jobs than advertised. In actual fact, 88% of the candidates we place take a job different from the job they applied for. So we've got a huge network of passive candidates. So you can see there's some of the lists as a client and why you would use a recruitment company: talent pool, time-saving, expert advice. But as a candidate, I don't know why you wouldn't use a recruitment company, because they have access to a lot more jobs than you're aware of. They'll give you tailored what you're looking for. If you need that cultural change, you need that development plan, they will find the best company to suit your career, and they'll help you stand out in the marketplace. And it makes it a lot faster. So that's a really quick overview of why you'd use a recruitment company from a client perspective and from a candidate perspective. But the underlying theme of our research is seeing that salary is very, very important in the current market. So without further ado, I want to hand over to the experts, and you're going to get some real dynamite gems, starting off with Sharon Allison. Thank you.
Thanks, Arthur. Another strange accent for you here, so adjust your hearing. But I'm Shaz. I'm the agency owner for Frontline Education Sydney. So I'm part of a group of education agencies within Frontline. Together we recruit for Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne metro areas. And also we recruit for regional New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria. So we cover a lot of the country. I've been with the business for 9 years, and I've got a background in education recruitment prior to this, both in Australia and in the UK, spanning about 20 years total. So as always with education, over the last few years, there have been shortages across almost every area within teaching, particularly within STEM education subjects and special or inclusive education, and that's across the country. So regional areas really feel the strain of this most of all. So this and other things have sparked many years of cries for reforms and changes in the industry, and some states have seen this materialising over the past year, including big salary increases within public education in New South Wales and anticipated increases in the independent sector again. Despite these rises though, there's still nationwide budget cuts in many schools, so this is continuing to create a tension around attracting new and retaining existing staff within the industry. Because salaries are always nearly set to scale within education, uncertainty around earnings is low. So drivers for movement between roles for candidates are most often around work-life balance and professional development opportunities. So employers do need to be mindful of those extra advantages they can offer new or existing employees to keep them engaged, where salary negotiation isn't ever an option. Having said this, though, regular and periodical salary increases have come to be expected in the industry, and it's very high on most people's list of why they would like to stay in the role or in the industry, and tops the list of perfect workplace attributes for many educational professionals. So I've got some tips for candidates. So number one, really, it's important to have a good looking CV, particularly with no gaps in employment. So you can add in explanations of breaks in your work history, like traveling around Australia, for example, maternity leave or home renovation projects, something like that. The less prospective employers have to wonder why you weren't working, the better it looks. Number two is prepare a cover letter template and tailor it to each role that you apply for. Cover letters are really important, and they should tell an employer things that aren't obvious from your CV. So, for example, reasons for looking for a new role, your personal circumstances, what you can offer, your pedagogy, you know, and who you are as a person. It's quite important. When you're interviewing for a role, it's important to ask questions of the interviewer as well. It shows an interest in the company, shows that you're engaged, and it's as much a chance for you to, you know, assess the employer as it is for them to assess you. So be brave in your interview and use it as a mutual information sharing session. Number four, be yourself and show your personality, because many employers look for somebody who can fit into the existing culture of the organisation and the team. So it's not all about what's on paper, your qualifications and your skills. It's about who you are as a person and how you're going to, you know, fit into existing culture. Last one for candidates, be punctual. Never late, obviously, but really not too early either, because this, you know, will show your commitment to the role and how you like day to day if you've got the position. But being super early might seem like a good idea, but people usually work to strict calendars, and if you arrive half an hour early, you're really going to upset the apple cart. So that's no good either. So if you're looking to hire at the moment, my tips for you would probably be, number one, try not to stick too rigidly to your criteria for selection. Some of the best finds for your team may come from someone who ticks 8 out of the 10 boxes that you're looking for, and you might miss them if you're not willing to flex on these. Number two is probably my biggest one in the list is don't take too long to make decisions. So the market is so tight. You've probably got a candidate there who you're really keen on, but they may be getting 3 or 4 other offers elsewhere. So it's really important to make quick decisions, be decisive, because they're going to get snapped up elsewhere if you don't offer them the role. Number three, I would probably interview everyone who's got the skill set that you're looking for, even if you think they might not be the right fit, because people will often wow you much more in person than on paper, and they'll tell you a lot more about what they can offer in real life. Number four, don't keep rescheduling interviews if your calendar changes. It really does show a lack of respect for candidates who have reorganized their week to see you. So show them commitment by sticking to the plan. And last one, consider new graduates or people with less experience than what you think you'll need. The new graduates of now are tomorrow's superstars, so they'll definitely give you amazing value for money if you support them early on in their career. They will remember you if you give them the first chance. So just because someone doesn't have maybe 10 years experience doesn't make them a superior pick to somebody that's, you know, brand new. So. And with that, I'm going to thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to hand over to our wonderful Cass King, who's going to speak about retail.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sharon. Some incredible information there for the education sector. My name's Cass King. I've just celebrated 5 years with Frontline. And prior to that, I was 35 plus years in retail. And I'm thrilled to be able to represent the industry here today on our webinar. What a market we're in at the moment. The low unemployment rates and the high cost of living has meant that employees are a little bit more cautious about making moves unless there's huge value for them. As the third highest employment sector across Australia, and actually the highest in New Zealand, beating even health and construction, it's no surprise that across retail, the top three factors workers are looking for is culture, the quality of and the connection to their leadership team, and salary, with salary package and perks being the most important factor when changing jobs. Some employers are listening to this, and on average, there's been a rise in salaries. And retail workers have reported increases in perks and bonuses, which is absolutely the best tool employers have to retain their team. For the most part, workers are satisfied with their salary, with only part-time workers feeling undervalued in comparison to their paycheck. A huge opportunity for employers. We know that culture, leadership, and salary is what people look for, but why employees actually leave is still headlined by work-life balance. While negotiating this particular need seems impossible in a bricks and mortar setting, it can be as little as guaranteeing a 38-hour week or paying for overtime rather than expecting it. No late nights or flexing once a month to allow a few extra hours of family time. I noted last year on the webinar that employee tolerance for not having this balance was at an all-time low, and that has not changed. If anything, it can be a deal breaker when it comes to closing the offer of employment. So what are our retail top tips for employers and employees? For a candidate, keep it professional. Communication is key to you having this win. If you're amazing at what you do and results back that up, talk to your current employer before you put yourself on the market. Let them know what you need to be happy. If you're already on the market, keep your recruiter and potential employers in the know if something changes at your end. It will work in your favour. Be realistic. The cost of living has definitely gone up. Wages have only risen slightly. So asking for something unattainable is not real. Know your career history and what your skills are really worth in the market. Your confidence, your skill set, and your value add should be on display constantly. So engage your selling skills all the way from your resume through to your interview. Consider the cost of travel. Consider the cost of lack of bonuses, or even just the fear of not asking for a pay rise. If the short-term cost outweighs the long-term gain, you have your answer. And finally, for our candidates out there, expect a war. If you are a candidate that is on the market, approach your current employer first if you can. Then they know what might be about to happen, and it'll help you work out, do you really want to leave, or you just need something more? For our hiring managers and our clients out there, be quick, move quick to meet with potential hires. Whether you decide to move forward to employment or not after meeting them, if you haven't interviewed them, someone else will. Show your flexibility. It's still a candidate's market. They have choice and will wait for a perfect role. So if you love someone that you're interviewing, be prepared to flex on perks, roster, and salary conditions, etc. Engage your selling skills and promote the company and yourself. Don't hope the candidate picks you, make them pick you. Go into the interview strategically and be prepared to talk about the culture. The cost of not having someone in your business and not having a secure team or losing key people, especially at this time of year, it's less than 10 weeks till December and peak trade starts. So look at what it looks like long-term to not fill that role. And finally, expect a war. Counter offers are rampant through the hiring game at the moment. And if you're a retail employer, have an ace up your sleeve just in case. Good luck to all the clients and candidates about to hit the peak season and the upcoming silly season. We are so close now. It's my pleasure to now hand over to Jennifer Stewart, the agency owner for both the Retail Exec Agency and our first ever manufacturing agency. Over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Cassandra. My name is Jennifer Stewart, and I opened up Frontline Executive in Sydney in 2017. We're a unique agency in Sydney and do all head office roles for retail, as well as those more senior multi-site roles and senior store level roles. So look, my tips are definitely for the job seekers. Highlight your match to the job description. Make sure you go through the job description and highlight what they're looking for. This is going to go to the client. They're looking for what your specific match is. So that's what's going to be very important to them. Be clear about what you're looking for in your next role. Make sure you know what you're looking for and you're going and applying for the right role. Always be transparent. Be transparent about your salary expectations. Can you attend the interviews, your notice period? Are you applying for other interviews? Let us know where you are in finding your next role. Have questions prepared for your interview and what's important to you. You're interviewing the company as much as they are interviewing you. Is it going to be the right fit for you? So you really have to make sure you're asking the correct questions and understanding what they're going to expect from you in the role. Be prepared for counteroffers. Why are you applying for this role? And if your current employer is going to offer you a counteroffer, what is going to change why you were applying for the role in the first place? You know, what is the culture going to improve? And what was your value prior to having a counter offer? For hiring managers, the market is fast and it is moving at a great rate. So know your time frame of when you're expecting these people to come on board. Most of our candidates need to give a month's notice. So you need to make sure that you've got your time frame in place. So don't leave it too late. We have so many people that say to us, we needed someone yesterday. Act straight away and book in an interview. If you see a fantastic candidate, let's talk about it and let's get them in for an interview. Don't delay, because they are often out at other roles and someone else will snap them up. Be clear about non-negotiables and negotiables. Now, one of the things there is hybrid or not hybrid. Be very clear about what you are offering, and we can then fine-tune that candidate to you. Also, be aware of what can be educated to the new candidate if they're only going to be ticking 80% of the boxes, but that's the 80% that you really need. So you need to be a bit flexible as well. Give clear feedback, whether the candidate is successful or not. Always give clear feedback so we can upskill them and give them reasons why they did or didn't get the role. The candidate experience is very important. Remember, we're representing your company. So we want this to be a very smooth and a good experience for everyone, because, you know, it is your company that we're branding. So that's it for executive. Now I'm putting my hard hat on. And I opened up manufacturing in November, December last year. So it's a new vertical and we're building that, but it's an exciting time for manufacturing. And yeah, so I'm very excited to be talking on that as well. So as you can see from our first slide, in Australia, we have over 909,000 people working in the industry, and in New Zealand, 245 over that there. 64% report an increase in their salary this year due to the shortage of skills in the labour. And also candidates are upskilling due to the technology and automation that's happening in manufacturing. So they're the reasons that they're expecting higher and salaries have gone up. As you can see here, there's quite high percentages of people in manufacturing across all sectors that are very happy with their salaries, and 100% in that part-time space. The next slide, thank you. Great. And people are looking for different things in their role now. Besides the salary, I think the other things that you've really got to be looking for is job satisfaction. And that's with clear understanding of what their job role is. Work-life balance is very strong, and also leadership. And leadership, good leadership means there's going to be a good culture there. So that's really important for our people in manufacturing. So for candidates, my top tips for you: is the role for you? Is this what you want? Will you be turning up for the interview? Have questions for your interview again. Make sure you're clear about the role. Make sure you find out what is expected day to day at the role that you're applying for, and is that really what you're wanting? Upskill yourself. With the move to automation and technology in manufacturing, people are looking for these particular skills. Companies are looking for longevity. Please make sure that there's no big gaps again in resumes and you're not jumping from job to job. And if you are moving out of that part-time or contract work, give reasons why you're moving out of that and why you're looking for a full-time role. That's really important for the person that's interviewing you. They don't want to have people that are moving around continually with no reason for it. Always be transparent with us so we can help you find your next great role. And for the hiring managers, have clear job descriptions and skills you need to carry out the role and what's going to be expected. There is a shortage with skilled labour, so act fast. When you see a candidate's resume you really like, let's book in the interview. Give clear feedback. Remember, again, we're representing your company. So make sure that we get the feedback to give to candidates, whether they're successful or not. We need to be realistic about salaries. With the shortage of skilled labour, what else can you offer? What other benefits are there? Work-life balance is one of the things that continually come up, and good culture. So make sure that there are other benefits you can offer. Keep us in the loop and be transparent. We're here to save you time and manage the process for you, so we can really help you and get the right people for you. With that, I would like to hand over to Deb Glenn, who's going to give the insights on health. Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Jen. Some really great information there, and really interesting to see some of the similarities across the industries. So, tēnā koutou, I'm Debbie Glenn. I'm the agency owner of Auckland Health, and we cover roles across the Upper North Island of New Zealand. I've been in this space since 2010 and seen some really big changes during this time. So if you're in the health sector, listen in. I'm sure you'll know all too well that the employment market is constantly changing, and there's definitely a rebalancing that's going on post-COVID. Putting some perspective on those workforce numbers that you can see here, the healthcare sector is the biggest workforce in Australia. It sits at 15.7% of the working population, and in the last year has seen an increase of 94,000 employees. Meanwhile, on this side of the Tasman in New Zealand, it's the second biggest employment market, 10.7% of the workforce. But get this, we had an increase of 55,000 people in the sector. That's more than half of what Australia had on much smaller numbers. Not only has there been an increase in employees, but there's been an increase in salaries across the sector. New Zealand, this has been driven primarily by renegotiating collective agreements, cost of living increases, and the need to secure specific skill sets. There's still some pockets that are lagging, such as community organisations reliant on government funding. Whilst in Australia, we've seen that allied health and aged care salaries have really shot up. And as they're quite large employers, this would be skewing the data slightly. I'm foreseeing that with the rebalancing of supply and demand, changes in border policies, and fiscal challenges in New Zealand, I'd expect that this rise to slow a little bit in the next year. But with salaries increasing, our statistics show us that 64% of full and part-time employees are satisfied with their pay, and this increases with the casual workforce. There are, of course, variations by generation, and there's some really good statistics in our salary guide worth looking into to help you sharpen your salary strategy. But what this does tell us is that between 31 and 36% of employees are not happy with their pay, and there could be a flight risk. So is there room for a discussion with employees on this before they look elsewhere? As employers, could you reconsider what your total offering is? So what's prompting healthcare workers to move if it's not salary? At a high level, it's a really stretched workforce. There's a definite sense of burnout with longer working hours and extra shifts due to staff shortages. Where staff have left the roles, often they're not being replaced, or the time to replace them is being really drawn out and leading to heavier workloads. Managers and supervisors not immune to this, and they'd really struggle to keep a positive culture. So what do you do if you've got a hiring freeze? Can you find ways to help employees feel valued? Can you do a coffee shout? A simple thank you note? If you are hiring, let's move quickly to fill the gaps, but don't settle for a warm body with a professional registration. Find the right skill set so as not to further burden your current employees with extensive training and support of new staff. And communicate with your teams. As we say in recruitment, no news is news, so keep people informed on what's happening. Having been in the business for 14 years, here are my top tips for the current market. This is just a snapshot. So if you're keen for a little bit more information, reach out to your local recruiter and they can give you some more intel to get you the best results. So those of you who are on the job market, optimize your CV. You've heard it before, but use facts and figures to add context. What was the ward size? What specific procedures have you done in theatre? What additional training have you completed? Think about what AI tools might be looking for in keywords and make sure they're in your CV. Consider your cover letter, again, an AI disruptor. Use it if you need to, but ensure the letter reflects your tone, your motivations, and feels personalized. And at interview, you've only got one opportunity to make a first impression. Research the company, the role, prepare, use examples to stand out. If you're doing your own salary negotiations, know your worth, research the market, but be respectful of collective agreements and corporate salary bandings. Sometimes there's just no flex. And lastly, sustainability. Before you accept a role, ensure that the role fits your lifestyle and your future needs. For those of you looking to hire, what you do represents your company brand from the get-go. Get the basics right, have quick responses, streamlined processes, engaging interviews. Talking of processes, be clear on the interview process. Set up expectations from the start around timeframes. Nothing will put off a prospective employee more than the perception of being messed around. Those of you looking for clinical staff, dig deep into the expertise. Don't broad brush over it, assuming a previous role required the same skills. And competition for top talent is still real. Be aware of your market, understand the competitors and what they're offering. No one likes to waste time, so have discussions on the basics early. Talk salary, shifts, travel early in the process. So that's it for me. Reach out if you'd like to talk further. Katikiana, handing over to Julia Long, who's going to cover our hospitality sector.
Thanks so much, Deb. My name is Julia Long and I have recruited for the hospitality industry within Frontline for the past 9 years. And previous to Frontline, I managed venues throughout Sydney for 20. I'm really pleased today to present some hospitality industry insights. My colleagues and I would be happy to assist with any inquiries regarding the information presented today or the state of the hospitality industry employment market. Salaries are increasing across the board within hospitality. We are still in a very candidate short market and good candidates are still highly sought after. As noted in this slide, company loyalty is high on the list of desirable qualities. 57% of staff that have been with the company for more than a year reported an increase in salary last year, showing a willingness to hold on to loyal staff from employers. During COVID, we of course saw a mass exodus from the hospitality industry and a more casualised workforce entered. Full-time employees are looking for an increase in salary now in order to keep them within the industry, along with adaptation of rosters to allow more work-life balance. And a stat that I think we'll see increasing in coming months and years is a really strong people-first company culture. Our industry has been under huge media scrutiny of late and only reinforces the need for definitive policies and procedures around staff management, reporting, and human resources. Now for some tips for the job seekers. Once again, be loyal to your employer and do your research before accepting a role. Ensure that you align with the company's culture and wellbeing policies. Employers are looking for long stints on your CV. For those requiring sponsorships, make sure that you are flexible in way of location and job title. Sponsorships are few and far between and are far more likely in more remote and regional locations. Within the QSR industry in Australia, there is a $25.3 billion market as new brands and offerings enter the market and current brands continue to grow exponentially. The QSR sector historically is also recession-proof as families with a tighter disposable budget look towards fast service restaurants for their entertainment spend. This is a really exciting space for candidates with opportunities for growth and expansion across the country. Now for hiring managers, as we move into peak season, it is time to really boost your staff numbers. Understaffing and burnout at this time of year leaves you really vulnerable to losing long-term quality staff at the start of next year. Once again, really hone into your people practices. The media spotlight is really driving home the need for strong policies, procedures, and a people-first mindset when operating within our industry. The media will continue to dig. Past and present staff are being approached by journalists, and disgruntled employees now have an outlet to report to. The federal government continues to move the dial on visas and sponsorships, and of course, minimum salaries. This is making it more difficult for employers to offer skilled migrants positions. Although all is not lost, this also allows businesses to fill roles with exceptional talent as the quantity of strong, really qualified candidates requiring sponsorship begins to hit the market. The government have introduced a more flexible approach for employers. Previously, candidates required an approved nomination before switching to a new employer, but now new rules allow for a 180-day transition period, a try before you buy, if you like. During this time, businesses can assess a candidate's suitability before making a long-term commitment to sponsorship and the cost, providing greater flexibility for both parties. Thanks for all of your time today. And now over to the lovely Monique for insights regarding the finance sector.
Thanks, Julia. That was great information on the hospitality industry. My name is Monique Poloski. I manage the finance agency for Sydney North, and I've been part of the Frontline organisation coming up to 3 years. I'm happy to be here today to talk through some key insights in the finance sector across Australia and New Zealand. Currently, we have the finance sectors making up 3.7% of the Australian workforce and 3.4% of the New Zealand workforce. Some key market trends we are seeing is a rush to digital transformation, enhancing the need for people with fintech, data and cybersecurity expertise. Banks and financial firms are boosting their digital game to also keep up. More eyes are also on regulatory changes across Australia and New Zealand, with financial firms levelling up on compliance and risk teams. Consumers expect more personalised and easier to use services, and there has been a challenge to find enough talent, especially on niche roles such as data, fintech and compliance. Salaries have risen in the past 12 months and are now stabilising, with salaries varying by pay region in urban centres like Sydney and Auckland, reflecting high cost of living and job concentration in these areas. Career advancement, work-life balance and job satisfaction are key deciders still for all of our job seekers in this industry. My tips for job seekers in this current market: build a strong network. Networking is crucial in the financial industry. Attend seminars, join relevant professional groups and connect with leaders on LinkedIn. Partner with a specialised finance recruiter to support your career goals, as they are often working on non-advertised roles. Tailor your applications to finance roles and customise your resume and cover letter to highlight your skills and relevant experience. AI will only get you so far with help on resumes, so ensure you're being your authentic self when you are applying. Be transparent about any current visas and be prepared to share your result transcripts as part of the process for some of the roles. Research your salaries in your market and be realistic with your expectation, utilising guides such as our Frontline Salary Guide, and talk to your specialised recruiter for up-to-date info. The finance industry also values candidates who can adapt to regulatory changes and market fluctuations. Highlight your experience in handling complex situations or how you have implemented new systems or processes to highlight your adaptability. And stay updated with financial trends and innovations. Stay across the latest advancements such as fintech, regulatory changes and market trends, and reach out to your recruitment agency who can also provide you with current up-to-date market in your local area. And for our hiring managers, tap into your financial networks. Sydney, as an example, is a major financial hub rich with talent. Engage in local financial associations, events, conferences, and collaborate with a specialist recruitment agency such as Frontline Finance. Offer attractive compensation packages. In this market, it is crucial to offer competitive salaries with benefits. Consider incorporating bonuses, flexible work arrangements, and professional development opportunities, which are highly ranked needs with finance job seekers. Highlight your company's expertise and culture. Finance professionals are often drawn to companies with strong reputation and clear vision. Clearly communicate your firm's financial expertise, your growth plan, and workplace culture to attract candidates who align with your company's values and goals. Streamline your recruitment process. With top-tier talent in very short supply, an efficient hiring process is essential. Ensure your recruitment process is well organised with prompt feedback and clear communication to secure that top talent before they move to another opportunity. Reach out to your specialised recruiter who can also provide you with up-to-date candidate availability and movement in the market. Stay informed on financial market trends, with the industry being influenced by global and local markets, staying updated with your regulations, market movements, and emerging technologies to make informed decisions and attract candidates with the right skills. Overall, though we're seeing more caution being taken with hiring decisions, the demand for top-tier talent remains robust, offering flexibility with work schedules, clear career progression, and competitive salaries remain priority for candidates when deciding to move. I look forward to you all receiving your salary guides, and please reach out to the finance team for more insights. I'll now hand you over to Jeff Bailey on all things construction.
Thanks, Monique. Hi, guys. I'm Jeff from the construction team. I've been with the group for 17 odd years and speaking to you today from sunny Canberra. Our frontline construction focus is all construction and trade roles across Australia. But as you can see, if you look at the salary tables after this session, we work a diverse range of roles, from an apprentice chippy to a construction general manager role and everything in between. But before we get into that, I'll just touch on the market over the last 12 months, and then we'll look at those stats and details in the following slides. So just to address the challenges in the last 12 months, there's nothing new, unfortunately. The labour shortage is still a massive issue in the construction sector, and the cost of materials is still very high. The third one that really affected us in the last 12 months was the amount of insolvencies that took place. ASIC reported that 27% of the insolvencies across Australia came from our sector last year. And this just shows how close so many companies work towards the line, how close they are to trade towards the line. So the knock-on effect of that's been devastating for many smaller businesses. And our team listen to their war stories almost every day. But let's take a look at some slides and look at some numbers. The construction workforce in Australia is about 1.35 million strong, and that's 9.5% of the total Australian workforce. It is huge. 300,000 workers in the construction space in New Zealand. 65% of all workers in the sector have reported salary growth over the last 12 months. With the next slide, we'll just look at construction workers' satisfaction, and 76% of full-time workers were satisfied with their role, 84% part-timers, and a huge 97% of casual workers satisfied. But we put that down to casual workers having plenty of work in the current market and much higher hourly rates. The self-employed sector seems to be the worst hit when it comes to job satisfaction. So we also took a look at why construction workers were being driven to leave the industry. And our top three responses were that work-life balance was key, better pay, like all previous owners spoke about today as well, and poor leadership or management. And this could be put down to leaders not adopting or adapting their management style to younger generations, and vice versa as well. So we have some tips for both candidates and for job seekers. And for the candidates first, it's research your potential company thoroughly. Do your research. Joining a business with the highest salary doesn't mean the business is stable. Update your resume. The old, I've never needed a resume, I just walk in and tell them what I can do, may work to pick up a job, but rarely helps you progress your career. The third one is to avoid under-the-table payments. If you're being paid under the table, you may not be covered by insurance, you may never see your super, and you'll find it hard to get finance in the future if you're looking at purchasing property. Be open to relocation. This is a key one at the moment with the current market. Is sometimes the best opportunity may be to move to a regional town with cheaper housing, less commute time, and a more relaxed lifestyle. And also to practice loyalty. Jumping companies and chasing the dollar is a short-term mindset. Just make measured decisions when it comes to your career. And for the hiring managers, address the market challenges openly, acknowledging the market challenges, not ignoring them. And at interview stage, addressing the current market challenges and how your business is facing them is key to building trust and gaining employee buy-in, and always move with speed. Number two is to develop a strong brand value. Have a strong brand value proposition. Understand why an employee should choose your business over a competitor, and being able to articulate your point of difference. Communication or communicating and celebrating regularly with your team is key as well. Have regular communication with your team, celebrate milestones. This could include communicating through various channels such as e-newsletters, at your toolbox talks, or through social media group chats. Celebrate all the wins. Number 4 we've got is proactively addressing employee concerns and creating opportunities. Understand people are nervous and get on the front foot, being able to describe how your business is positioned in the market and the positive opportunities you see for future growth. And finally, ensure job security remains a priority. Job security is still very important to candidates. They want to know the business they are joining is stable, but needs to change and adapt. And keeping them updated and delivering an overall sentiment that changes or that addresses that change provides opportunity is key. And I'll just finish with our slides here by saying we acknowledge the last 12 months has been really tough. But that said, we do see the market shifting in the construction industry. We're seeing signs of resurgence through the number of job orders coming in, and our clients are saying they feel more confident about the coming calendar year ahead. So for 24 and 25 will provide us many new opportunities, and it's great to be part of this dynamic sector. And that's it for construction. I'll hand over to Michelle.
Thanks so much, Jeff, and to all of our agency owners. They're running very busy agencies, so it's great they've taken time out to share their knowledge with us today. And there really is no better expert in the sector. There's no better knowledge than what comes out of these guys' brains. Much more recent on the ground than anything you get in a report. So thank you so much for that. Look, accessing our salary guides is really the best way to understand how to succeed in what is a much more competitive job market than what we've seen over the past few years. And I guess if you're a job seeker, really, it's important to get a really good understanding of what potential your employer offers beyond salary when applying for a role. What does their L&D program look like? How do they develop and promote people internally? And what is a realistic and fair salary for your role in your industry and in your region? So, think big picture when you're out there looking. When it comes to hiring managers, attracting and retaining great talent in today's climate is tricky. A lot of people are out there open to new opportunities to help them meet their financial pressures. So it's really important that you signal some strong messages to candidates in your recruitment process. So culture is obviously key, particularly for younger candidates who post-COVID are looking for opportunities to connect and build relationships. People want to know what the potential of the role and the organisation is for them. And salary is important. So, making sure that you're clear about what salary is on offer is important to get the right level of applicant and also more quality applications. So there's a lot of quantity out there, but quality is a bit of a challenge. So we have had actually quite a lot of questions pop into the chat. So I'm going to address those because we've got a few minutes left in the webinar, but just wanted to address some of those. So we have had a question just about whether we have data on how many applications are actually coming from overseas. We can't track that through our database, but we can, we track whether people have working rights, but we don't have that number. We do have that anecdotal evidence. We know what our agency owners are seeing come in applications, and we know that that's happening. We have also seen, if I look at our website traffic, we can see growth in traffic from overseas compared to last year. And what is really significant there is that we're seeing a big spike in New Zealand applicants, which I'm sure our Kiwi agency owners know about. But, we have seen some significant growth coming from New Zealand from a traffic point of view. Just another one as well. We have asked if stats will be shared. They will. This webinar is being recorded and that will be shared and sent to you with the salary guide in an email after today's session in the next 24 hours. So you will get access to all of that data. We have also asked if there's a way to report on aged care on its own. Our salary guide does cover aged care roles, our health salary guide, so that will help with that. But I do encourage you, if you want more specific information on the aged care sector, to reach out to one of our health agency owners. And I am going to throw to Cass King for this next question. Cass, we've got a question from Greta in our webinar today. She's asking, it's a bit of a double-barrel question here, what trends we're seeing in the compensation packages that regional retail candidates specifically look for, and also what values and benefits do regional sales candidates look for in a retail business?
Great question. It's interesting because in the last 12 to maybe 18 months, there's been a real shift in the expectations, or also I guess what companies can provide to salespeople and to sales managers. In relation to salespeople, there have been instances in the last 12 months with candidates that I've placed, and I know I wouldn't be alone in saying this across the vertical, where incredible salespeople with a background to match and a proven track record of success have been able to ask for a much higher package, probably 20% more than what the industry would support as an award wage. And the other side of that as well is that they're also being awarded from the employer side with a Monday to Friday roster and perks around that. There have been many an instance in the last 12 months where I've worked with or spoken with candidates or previous candidates that we've placed that have been offered a Monday to Friday roster to ensure that they are not moving from their role. I think recognition of retention is really happening amongst the sales and retail market at the moment as well. It's something that haven't heard much of previously, but now retention bonuses and tenure recognition is something that's coming into play there as well.
Thank you so much for that, Cass. That's a great answer. I did want to just make a mention to, we've had a couple of people requesting help in the chat, particularly Ash, who's looking for a job. So Ash, we will reach out to you directly after today's webinar to see if one of our agencies can assist you with getting a role in that sector. We have got a specific question in the construction sector as well, Jeff. Just someone asking about getting tickets with construction or mining and truck license in the mining sector. I'm not sure whether you've got any tips for them.
No, I'd have to come back to them on that. We don't do the mining sector.
Well, we might just put you in touch and perhaps you can refer them to somebody.
Yeah, for sure. No worries.
Yeah, if that one comes forward. We have got a couple of other questions. We've only got a couple of minutes left, so I will just reach out to a couple of agency owners there. So Jen Stewart, is there a specific time of year that's best to approach negotiating salary for a job seeker?
Look, in the executive level, no, it could be any time of year. It depends on what the shortages are at the time. I've known of buyers and planners that when there's been a specific shortage in that area, have been able to negotiate very high salaries and good work-life balance, such as hybrid roles. I think that's slowed down slightly now, but it would depend on the market at the time and the skill set that's needed in the exec. So executive is much more based on the skill set and also the fit for the culture and the background of what they're looking for, specifically, whether it be jewelry, whether it be fashion, etc. So no, I think it's a time of just knowing the market at the time and discussing it with us. And I think that's the same with manufacturing as well. Or as we've seen, there's been quite a high spike in salaries with manufacturing. That's the shortage in skill set. So again, it's really being understanding of the job description and highlighting your skills that you can bring to that job, and then we can talk about negotiation.
Excellent. Thanks, Jen. One more, which is a retail question. Cass, I'll go back to you. We've got a candidate here who's been looking for management roles in the design and footwear fashion industry for a few months, but they're based in New Zealand, not Australia. So I assume you're looking for an Australian role, but they're just wondering whether you know, there's a challenge there in that sector. What's happening across those two
No, look,
countries?
I think when it comes to back of house retail, there's been a bit of a right sizing since COVID. I think when COVID happened, head office roles became very few and far between, and over the last couple of years, they're slowly growing back to where they were before. However, we're still a bit light on in some of those roles from a head office perspective. I think when it comes to looking for the creative side of retail and fashion, I think it's about getting in at the ground level and building up very slowly into a business that you believe in and somewhere where you contribute as well. You know, it's really important for retail businesses and fashion businesses to have that culture from even the store level where they can call on people to bring into a head office level long term. And I think sometimes the best way to succeed in that is to create a list of where you want to be and work backwards from there as to where you need to be now. So good luck for that. It's tough to get into the fashion design side of things for sure.
Thanks, Cass. Not a great answer. I think we are right on 1 o'clock now. So we will wrap up the webinar today. But as I said, if you've still got questions, please send them through to our marketing@frgteam.com inbox or our national@frgteam.com inbox, and we'll definitely see how we can help you. Thanks again to everyone who presented today, in particular our experts here. And please visit us at our website should you need any help. That's us. Over and out.
Thank you, folks. Goodbye.